There's this thing people say about catamarans, floating apartments. That's what you hear from people who've never been 1,500 miles from land in a building seaway. When you're out there in 25 knots with a confused cross-swell, you realize a catamaran isn't a condo. It's a structural equation. Bridge deck clearance, hull shape, daggerboard geometry, energy systems, structural stiffness under repeated loading. That's what separates a boat that crosses oceans from a boat that makes money on the charter dock. This list is built on what actually keeps you alive offshore. Speed, structural integrity, energy independence, and the ability for two people to manage everything without someone constantly going forward in a seaway. We're counting down 10 blue water catamarans I'd actually cross an ocean in. Number 10, 044, open. Most catamarans insulate you from the ocean. The naught puts you back in contact with it. Twin aft helms with direct mechanical rudder connection. When the boat loads up on a gust, you feel it through your hands. You feel the rudder bite. You feel the hull accelerate. That feedback is not a luxury, it's information. Offshore, information keeps you alive. The hulls are infused with closed-cell foam. Even if you punch a hull, the foam prevents catastrophic flooding. Passive safety in the laminate itself. Upwind in 15 knots, you're doing 6.8 to 9 knots. That's quick for a 44. Downwind, she hits 19 knots. The real operating advantage is the smart room, a dedicated workshop space for maintenance and sail repair. On a long passage, you're constantly fixing things. Having a separate space for that work is operational intelligence, not a gimmick. Navigation station is ahead of you, not behind you. On an ocean passage, you want your chart plotter and weather routing screen where you can see them without turning around. Number 9, Seawind 1370. The Seawind is 45 feet of Australian no-nonsense engineering. Its most controversial design decision is also its smartest. No daggerboards. Instead, high aspect ratio mini keels fixed to the hull. Good windward performance without the complexity of moving boards. For a couple crossing an ocean, that simplicity matters. One less system to break. One less thing to worry about at 3 a.m. Bridge deck clearance is 838 millimeters. That's excellent for a 45-footer. Less slamming, less noise, less structural stress. A drier ride in heavy conditions. That clearance is the difference between a tolerable night and a brutal one. The galley is up on the same level as the cockpit. On a long passage, the cook is part of the watch team. If they're trapped below in a separate space, they're isolated. Galley up solves that. The aluminium rig is set farther aft to reduce pitching. That's a subtle but critical detail. Pitching is what makes people seasick and what fatigues structures over thousands of miles. Fuel capacity, 586 litres. Water capacity, 586 litres. Twin 40 horsepower Yanmars. Solar approaches 2,000 watts. Owners who've crossed the Atlantic in sea winds all mention the same thing, the ability to heave to effectively. When you need to stop fighting the ocean and park the boat safely, the Seawind does it beautifully. That's a survival feature no spec sheet shows you. Number 8. Ultramar 45. The Ultramar philosophy is straightforward. Speed is safety. If you can sail faster, you outrun weather systems. You reach shelter before the storm arrives. Shorter passages mean less crew fatigue, less wear, less time exposed. The 45 is engineered for short-handed sailing. Every line, every control, every sail function is centralized at the helm. A couple can manage this without leaving the cockpit. That's a safety architecture. Construction is smart. Solid fiberglass below the waterline for impact resistance. Foam sandwich above for weight reduction. Armor where the water is. lightness where the air is. The self-packing Solent simplifies upwind sailing. Instead of grinding a jib sheet, the sail moves itself. For a tired crew at the end of a night watch, that's the difference between a smooth maneuver and a mistake. Daggerboards are non-negotiable. Superior pointing upwind. In heavy conditions, you raise them to reduce drag and prevent tripping during a broach. Dual functionality, performance and safety. Light displacement, 8,200 kilograms. Displacement to length ratio, 73.5. This is a light, purposeful boat. It doesn't pretend to be anything other than a boat that crosses oceans. Number 7. Balance, 442. The balance philosophy is equilibrium between high-performance sailing and comfortable living. The 442 delivers on both. Bridge deck clearance, 818 millimeters, among the highest in its class. In a seaway, waves pass underneath the platform instead of slamming. Less slamming means less noise, less fatigue, crew that can actually sleep. The Versa helm is the defining innovation. Steer from an elevated position with 360 degrees visibility during maneuvers, then pivot the helm into the cockpit for full shelter during long night watches. Owners cite this as the single biggest factor in reducing fatigue on transoceanic passages. And fatigue is the real killer offshore. Not waves, not wind, fatigue. Rigidity maintains rig tension and prevents the creaking you hear in other boats when the sea state builds. A stiff boat is a quiet boat. A quiet boat is a fast boat. Light displacement, 10,750 kilograms. Sail area to displacement ratio, 23.8. The aft cabin converts into a dedicated office with a double bed. People aren't just cruising anymore. They're living and working from these boats. Number 6. Katana 53. Katana has built performance multi-hulls for 30 years. The 53's defining technology is carbon infusion combined with Tuaron, an aramid fiber layered into the laminate to create a structure that is light and exceptionally impact resistant. Carbon fiber around the chain plates, mast base and coach roof removed nearly a full ton of weight compared to predecessors. 1 ton. That's the weight of a small car, eliminated without sacrificing strength. Owners consistently describe the boat moving like a train. Stiff, steady, even in heavy squalls. No twisting, no flexing. That's carbon converting gust energy into forward motion instead of structural noise. The 53 addresses the traditional criticism of limited interior volume with maxi hulls and a flush interior design. Saloon, galley and cockpit on the same level. Open great room concept that feels larger than the length suggests. Twin outboard helms give a clear view of the rig and sails, but are more exposed to the elements. Better sail awareness. You sacrifice shelter. That's the trade-off. Light displacement, 14,000 kilograms. For the sailor who wants a thoroughbred that is still comfortable for long-term living, the Katana 53 is proven. Number 5. Balance, 482. The 482 is the sweet spot. This is the boat that owners who have actually completed transoceanic passages keep returning to as the most livable performance catamaran. It carries the same Versa helm system as the 442, same construction philosophy, same obsession with stiffness. But the 482 scales everything up just enough. Light displacement, 11,315 kilograms. Maximum displacement, 15,000 kilograms. That delta, 3,685 kilograms of payload, is where real-world ocean crossing lives. You're not crossing an ocean at light displacement. You're loaded with fuel, water, provisions, spare parts, tools, and all the accumulated gear of a life afloat. Fuel capacity, 800 litres. With upgraded 57 horsepower Yanmars, you can cruise at 7 to 8 knots on a single engine, extending motoring range dramatically. That's critical for the doldrums, where you can sit windless for days. Water capacity, 780 litres. Solar exceeds 1000 watts. Battery bank, 800 amp hours at 24 volts. With lithium batteries and proper charging, you can run a water maker, refrigeration, and instruments without starting a generator. The 482 doesn't ask you to choose between comfort and speed. It delivers both. In the middle of the Atlantic, that's not a marketing line. That's why you chose this boat. Number 4. Ultramare 52. The Ultramare 52 is the new benchmark. It synthesizes every lesson learned from the iconic 51 and larger 55 into a single optimized platform. Structural weight-saving technology allows larger glass surfaces and improved visibility without compromising rigidity. More glass usually means more flex, not here. The engineering ensures structural loads bypass the glazing and flow through composite framework. Bright, open interior that is brutally stiff under load. The modular interior concept in the port-forward cabin can be configured as a workshop, office with bunks, dressing room, or children's cabin. That's not clever design, it's operational reality. Long-distance cruisers have radically different needs at different voyage stages. The 3-position wheel can swing from an upper helm position for maneuvering to a lower protected cockpit position for long watches. Under power, the 52 cruises at 8 knots at 2,500 RPM with twin diesels. Light displacement, 12,500 kilograms. Displacement to length ratio, 89.5. For the sailor who believes the fastest passage is the safest passage, the data supports that. Number 3. HH44. The HH44 is a rethink. Built entirely from pre-preg carbon fiber. Carbon sheets are pre-impregnated with resin in a factory-controlled environment and cured under heat and pressure in an autoclave. Result is a fiber-to-resin ratio that hand layup cannot match. Maximum strength, minimum weight, maximum stiffness. Light displacement, 9,500 kilograms for a 44-footer with the usable space of a 48-footer. That weight saving comes from everywhere. Carbon hulls, carbon coach roof, even furniture uses foam core construction. The game changer is the EcoDrive hybrid propulsion. Twin 10-kilowatt electric motors that piggyback on reliable diesel engines. Silent, fume-free motoring at speeds up to 7 knots. The real magic is hydro regeneration. While sailing, the free-spinning propellers act as generators, feeding energy back into a massive 43.2 kilowatt-hour lithium battery bank. Combine that with a solar array of up to 4,232 watts integrated into the coach roof, and you have a boat that can run air conditioning, water makers, and electronics without starting a diesel generator. The diesel genset is one of the most common failure points on offshore boats. The HH44 eliminates it entirely. That's operational resilience. Number 2. Balance 526. The 526 is what happens when you take the balance philosophy and push it to its logical extreme. The flagship. Light displacement 12,200 kilograms for a 52-foot catamaran. Extraordinarily light. That translates directly into performance. Owners describe this as the BMW M series for the open seas. In 12 knots of breeze, this boat can sail at 13 to 14 knots while remaining manageable by a couple. Capable of achieving boat speeds in excess of the true wind speed in light air. Upwind sail area 157 square meters. Sail area to displacement ratio 36.0, the highest on this list. This boat does not need an engine in anything above 8 knots of wind. Shorter passages, less fuel burned, arriving ahead of the weather instead of behind it. Bridge deck clearance 860 millimeters, the highest on this list. In heavy offshore conditions, that clearance is the difference between a rough, slamming, sleep-depriving night and a smooth passage where waves simply pass underneath. The XP version utilizes full carbon, pushing stiffness to weight ratio into racing boat territory. Carbon means silence. When a gust hits, energy goes into sails and foils, not twisting the platform. Master Suite features the largest head and shower of any performance catamaran in its class. That's the balance promise. You don't sacrifice living for sailing. You don't sacrifice sailing for living. This boat is the answer for the sailor who wants everything: speed, comfort, stiffness, autonomy, and the ability to cross any ocean with 2 people and a plan. Number 1. Garcia Explocat 52. The Garcia Explocat is a different animal. Every other boat on this list is built from composites. The Explocat is built from marine-grade aluminium. That single material choice changes everything. When you're crossing an ocean, collision with semi-submerged objects is not theoretical. It's statistical. Containers fall off ships. Logs drift for thousands of miles. In a composite hull, collision at speed means catastrophic puncture. In aluminum, with plate thicknesses from 5 mm to 14 mm at the bottom, the metal deforms. It dents. It does not shatter. It does not let the ocean in. The Explocat features watertight aluminum bulkheads at bow and stern. In the event of a breach, you isolate the damaged compartment and maintain buoyancy. That's naval architecture borrowed from commercial ships, not yachts. Propellers are protected because losing a propeller to a fishing net in the middle of the Indian Ocean is not an inconvenience, it's a crisis. Bridge deck clearance 850 millimeters. Displacement 18,900 kilograms at medium load. It's significantly heavier than the carbon boats. But that weight is armor. For the sailor heading to high latitudes, Patagonia, Greenland, the Kerguelen Islands, armor is what you want. The Explocat is heavily insulated with foam panels above the waterline and insulated floor. This prevents condensation and maintains internal temperature in freezing conditions. In the Southern Ocean, where the water is 2 degrees and the air is not much warmer, thermal management is not comfort, it's survival. The forward cockpit acts as a second living area in the tropics and a safe vantage point for navigating icebergs or sandbars. The swing helm allows you to choose between an upper maneuvering position and a lower protected cockpit station. Here is the detail that puts the Explocat at number 1. It can be beached on its keels. You can dry out. You can inspect the bottom. You can make repairs in places where the nearest boatyard is 1,000 miles away. Toughness means serviceability when infrastructure doesn't exist. The Garcia Explocat is not the fastest boat on this list. It's not the lightest. It's not the most technologically advanced. But it is the boat I would trust with my life in places where the ocean doesn't care about your brochure or your carbon fiber. It's built to go anywhere and come back. What separates these 10 from everything else? Speed is safety. Shorter passages mean less exposure to developing weather, less fatigue, less wear. Bridge deck clearance matters because wave slamming subjects the structure to violent accelerations that fatigue composites and loosen hardware. Every boat here meets or exceeds that threshold. Structural stiffness means energy goes into forward motion, not twisting the platform. Energy autonomy means you can run water makers, refrigeration, and instruments without a diesel generator, eliminating one of the most common failure points offshore. Short-handed capability means every boat can be sailed by 2 people, and all lines lead to the helm. Choose based on your mission. Maximum speed and best VMG to weather, Ultramare 52 or HH44. Expedition capability. Anywhere on the planet, including ice, Garcia Explicat 52. Couple-friendly, livable performance, Balance 482 or Seawind 1370. Best pure sailing sensation and helm feel, Naut 44 Open or Katana 53. Fastest boat that a couple can still manage, Balance 526. Technological showcase with hybrid propulsion, HH44. Crossing an ocean in a catamaran is not about choosing the biggest or most expensive boat. It's about choosing the boat whose design decisions all assume the same thing. Sooner or later, you will be in conditions you didn't plan for. These 10 are built to get you through them. If you've crossed an ocean in one of these boats, or know someone who has, I'd like to hear which one, what worked, what didn't, and where you'd make a different choice. That real-world experience is worth more than any spec sheet. If you want more discussion about boats that actually perform offshore, subscribe. That's what we focus on here.